Hello, my name is Tom and I'm a journalist at the FinTech Times. We're at Seamless Europe in Munich and today we're lucky enough to be joined by Giorgi. Giorgi, thank you very much for joining us today. Could I get you to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, this is Giorgi from Bank of Georgia. This is a commercial bank at the country of Georgia with 1.5 million digital users in digital banking channels. I'm leading the strategy for open banking and digital ecosystem at the Bank of Georgia.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So the FinTech Times is currently focusing on digital banking and just the whole space, really, digital banking ecosystems. And one of the aspects of that we've heard a little bit about today at different panel sessions at this event is about personalization and the importance of that. So what can you tell us about the importance for financial institutions to embrace specifically personalized sort of customer payments experiences?
I think it's very natural to think that the customer has this expectation that all the digital products must be personalized, right? We see that the customers demand these kind of solutions, and we also see that the conversion to the product that you offer based on the personalization is higher, because customers understand that you have to be personal when you speak about the offers and we speak about the services. Looking at other services like social media apps and other digital products, this is quite like the standards. So banks should not be like the dinosaurs of the industry, right? Who do not evolve, especially when you have the luxury of having touch with the customer data when it comes to payments, when it comes to real life information about the interests of the customers. And especially for the company like Bank of Georgia, where the lifestyle offers are a big part of the customer experience and the loyalty offers should be personalized and relevant to customer needs so that we keep the relevancy and the natural aspect of the services in our digital applications.
Perfect. And obviously, everyone knows just how important personalization is in this aspect. Yet, why isn't everyone just embracing it in every way they can? What are the challenges that are stopping, financial institutions and other firms from really embracing it?
Well, first of all, I mean, this is what we want to do, but it's not easy, right? You have to have a data. For data, you need both big data about the customer, so you have to be covering payments, card payments. You have to have enough merchants who have your POS terminals. So on one side, you must have enough data about the customer behavior, transactions. On another side, you must have enough offerings that you need the data analytics for, right? You need to have enough loyalty offers where you decide which one is more relevant for the customer, right? And the most important, you need to be strong in terms of data analytics, AI, modeling, and actually building the functionality so that you do this right and well. So in terms of to be able to do that, you need enough customers, you need enough merchants, you need an ecosystem for them to connect when it comes to payments, and then to build the technical capabilities to analyze this data. So I guess this is the biggest challenge. And the challenge is also to the challenge is to achieve the efficiency in terms of bureaucracy as well, right? Because banks are big organizations, and you're not only tech company, you're a financial institution, and you're not a startup. So you have to be fast enough as well, so you keep up with the industry trends and also customer expectations, and you keep up the quality that is needed for that kind of services.
Fantastic. So another aspect of digital banking that's also really important is open banking, and that's something that George has really been trying to implement and leverage as well. What can you tell us about that journey of trying to introduce open banking and really make the most out of it? And specifically, what's happened in the last year that you can tell us about in Georgia?
Well, I think Georgia is a very interesting case in terms of open banking because we are not members of EU yet. We are candidates, and we still try to catch up with the regulation and to keep these standards relevant to the EU standards, right? And so Georgia started introducing this regulation, I think, from back 2018. And we, Bank of Georgia, were very active in terms of the strategy to be open for the partnerships rather than to guard ourselves from this regulation. So we believed in the banking as a service direction, opening up the APIs, community management to find the synergies with local fintech companies, etc. So in the beginning, the regulation was introduced only for banks to open up the services between banks. and now it's already open for fintech companies as well. And as it was expected in the beginning, the users of open banking were more like local banks. Now, as it is open for fintechs, there's more activity in terms of other third parties who might be creating some services. And we are now seeing some initiatives in the payment area. And we also see this actually brought some international attention in terms of international companies deciding to enter Georgian market. It's a small market, but as it is more ready for the European standards, I think it made it easier for international companies to build some products here. But generally, I think as in Europe, people need time to understand how to use it. And in people, I mean both the end users, the customers, as well as banks and fintechs, because there's one thing that you have these services available, but the other thing is that you have to build whole business around it, right? And one more interesting part here is that in Georgia, open banking has some additional scope. We started using digital onboarding APIs between banks, which is not standard scope in EU and UK. So this is our expectation is that open banking will help us to increase the conversion rate of the user digital onboarding for the users who have other banks' credentials, because we saw that biometry is not that much effective when it comes to digital onboarding, and we think this will work better. And now the scope continues. Each year we have new APIs that are going to open from bank, and I think we will need some 2-3 years to see actually what happens on the market, what kind of new products are created. But this is definitely better times for the landscape itself, because Georgian market was very competitive, and now it's making a bit easier for other players to enter the market.
That's great. And obviously, as you said, you've got a bit of a short to long-term plan there, especially regarding open banking. But if we take a step away from open banking, what other kind of future plans does the Bank of Georgia have? Have you got any exciting plans or developments coming up in the near future?
Yeah, I think in terms of open banking, our main goal is to keep up with the regulation to open the APIs and to be proactive in terms of creating the premium APIs. On another side, I think biggest strategic decision for us is to leverage our own ecosystem. And the topic that we touched, the personalization and data monetization, is one of the biggest priorities for us. We have recently launched a new product, which is called Ads Manager, which is quite ambitious and innovative for the banking ecosystem. So what we're trying to do is to create something like the Ads Manager, which we see in marketing industry, social media, but for the banking ecosystem. So to monetize on data analytics behind transactional data and personalizing the experience and lifestyle offers in the digital channels for the customers, both on retail and business segment. So for us, this is a challenge because we combine all the digital platforms that we have for different segments, like the business clients, payment clients, and retail clients. And for us, this is a challenge that we create fully digital and innovative product, which is really new for the market. And the challenge for us is to find the product market fit and monetize the data behind payments, to find a new way to actually build the payment service, develop the payment service and monetize on this.
That's great. Well, such an interesting approach, and obviously there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon, certainly for the Bank of Georgia and also just for the surrounding ecosystem. So that sounds fantastic. But also part of what we're doing here is we're asking everyone, as part of our monthly theme, which is regarding regulation and RegTech, a question which is, what big trends do you expect to see in the regulatory space? If you could talk specifically about Georgia.
I think that for the Georgia, the biggest priority is to follow the steps that the EU is going through, including FIDA regulation, let's say. So the open banking was the first part that was introduced in Georgia, and we added some scope, and we decided to have some more open APIs, right? The next step is that we go beyond Berlin Group standard, PSD2 standard, and we have our own adaptation of the services, and this is going to cover more services and more products than it was in EU. Now we go beyond open banking, and I think the regulations will cover the open finance concept itself, which is part of similar to FIDA regulation, right? So I think banks will be more requested and required to open up the data, which is customer data, and open up the API services. So um, as it will be happening in the EU, right? And I think it's very good for the EU and Georgia as well, because for Georgia it's catching up to standards and modern requirements for the industry, also helping the competition. And this competition might be local, but also for the European companies to make it easier to enter in this region, right, in this part of the world. And for some companies, we see that Georgia is becoming more comfortable, not only for the regulations, but for the outsourcing, outstaffing, and to have the offices in Georgia and etc. So, to summarize, I think in some sense we will catch up with the regulations, and we will catch up most of the regulations that are coming in EU, and for most of them we will have adaptation of Georgian scopes, because we are smaller market. It is easier for us to take some risks and test some services. So in smaller time, bigger steps might be happening in our country.
Well, Giorgi, thank you so much for joining us today. You've given us some great insights and a lot to think about. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Seamless Europe as well.
Thank you as well. Thank you for the invitation. It was very good to talk to you.